Hello again. Welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
And we are pre-taping the Thursday before the Monday we air. And might as well thank EVT Educational Productions and Manhattan Neighborhood Network for the good graces and their courtesy and facilities. So we know that as the Columbia Journalism Review put it last Thursday, 36 hours of chaos will still be reigning on Monday
Yes.
when we air. So rather than start with the 36 hours of chaos, maybe we should talk about some of the other stories that may or may not still have some resonance, because there was an election in South Korea last week, and the actual liberal candidate didn't jot down his name, male, was elected. And this is the young man, I quote young man, everybody's young to me these days, who says basically it's time for a new chapter, and he'd be more than willing and happy to talk to his counterpart in North Korea. And so that is an interesting story to me, because, you know, our current president was sending an armada and was threatening nuclear warfare with North Korea, completely disregarding the fact that any nuclear warfare that he waged on North Korea would also obliterate South Korea, but that's another story.
Right.
So I haven't seen any State Department reaction officially. I believe there was a letter of congratulations or a message of congratulations that went to the newly elected president of South Korea. But any change in Rex Tillerson's policy towards North Korea or Donald Trump's policy to North Korea, I've seen no readout on this development. Have you guys seen anything?
I've seen nothing.
No, and the other news, of course, is clouding this international news. So
Oh,
it's rather difficult to get a reading.
That's very
There
true.
could be no reaction because these people have been so busy hunkered down because of the chaos
Right.
that they have created. So, all right. As much as I hate to continue all our shows dealing with one individual and one subject, it's the big gorilla on the
the big
planet,
one.
and we can't do anything about it. So,
But you can also you can squeeze in a little about the French, I guess,
yeah,
if you want to talk internationally.
well, the interesting thing is you get a liberal, quote, guy in South Korea who's not a hardline, we will not do any communications. And then in France, you get a new young guy, Macron,
Right.
who says, we're not going to go the way of closed borders. We're not going to go the way of the populist movement that's talking about more xenophobia that's been sweeping Europe even before Donald Trump's election. But Donald Trump's election was like the across the Atlantic personification of that same populism. And he said, no, we don't want to go down that road. And so that's two elections in Europe now, because I believe it was the Dutch, the Netherlands, 2 months ago, where they also repudiated one of their hard right candidates. So, yeah, while we're wrestling with chaos, the French took a lesson. I read this headline. The French took a lesson from the Donald Trump election in the United States and said, we're not going down that road. So which brings us back to the elephant in the room. So tell us a little bit, Bob. The James Comey thing. How did that jump off, and that surprise on this? Ray, you got a better take on the surprise Comey?
I don't have a better take on it. I've been, reading all the blurbs about it, and it seems there's a lot of thought that his firing comes as a direct result, well, compounded by other little things since then, but as a direct result of Comey's failure to be loyal and stand by his president, by refuting his claim that he had been wiretapped by the Obama administration, and several other minor things that just built up but I was reading today that there's a consensus that it started with Comey's refusal to back him up on the claim that he had been wiretapped. And you know, he's got such a failing self-worth that, you know, this has been plaguing him.
Yes.
For the entire time. I mean, he's reacting as he does to most things, like a petulant child who's not getting his way.
Right. It was taken, like you said, personally, and it troubled him so much that he couldn't. I mean, here we have a
He
guy
hasn't
who
been able to let it go,
right.
apparently.
And Comey, from even people who don't like him, people have said that he's loyal to his office. Mm-hmm. His investigations were going to go on. I mean, not just this one, but he wasn't going to get outside pressure to do this or that or the other thing. And even the folks who didn't like him basically said that he was true to his position. So I'm probably in the same boat as the two of you. When we heard it over the radio or on TV, we were just flabbergasted. I mean, it just out of the blue, and even Sean Spicer didn't know what to do about it when the press finally caught up to him, the press secretary.
I wasn't that flabbergasted because I assumed that it had everything to do with the FBI investigation into the Russian connection.
Right.
Okay. I mean, because it has been 36 hours of chaos, and the entire media industry and the federal government, Congress, all have been flailing and reacting to this particular event. I started trying to aggregate some stuff about what was going on, and I can tell you, I stole that headline from the Columbia Journalism Review, which is 36 hours of chaos, which was the media today was the subhead of the Columbia Journalism online publication. And basically, it's worth quoting them deliberately. For political media, the past 36 hours have been among the craziest in recent memory. As midnight approached last night, which would have been Wednesday night, New York Magazine's Olivia Nutzi succinctly captured the feelings of Washington reporters with a simple question: when will it be safe to sleep? There will likely be more twists and tweets in the hour between when this newsletter is filed and when it sends the tweets. Below, some context on the chaos. What seems relevant, the New York Times' Matthew Rosenberg and Matapuzzo scoop that days before he was fired, Comey asked the Justice Department for this is a quote,
right,
more prosecutors and other personnel to accelerate the Bureau's investigation into Russia's interference, as you were saying, Raymond, in the presidential election. Increased pace. The Wall Street Journal's Shane Harris and Carol E. Lee write, and this is a Wednesday quote, that Comey began receiving daily rather than weekly updates about the Russia investigation in the weeks before he was dismissed. Who speaks for the president? This week, it's Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Sean Spicer, as you were saying, didn't know what to do.
Right.
And one report, he was hiding in the bushes. There may be a clarification of that.
Yes.
But floundering down below. I didn't see the video. I don't know.
There is no video because Sean Spicer
cut the cameras.
Yes,
Yes,
he specifically ordered the cameras cut off.
Well, I'm surprised the cameras were there because they've been excluded from many other things.
We'll get to that one.
Right.
CNN's Dylan Byers and Jim Acosta report that Trump is carefully monitoring Sarah Huckabee Sanders' performance, thinking of making a change. So she may be auditioning for replacing Sean Spicer. More leaks coming. CNN's Jake Tapper talked to a source close to the now former FBI director, who told Tapper that there were two reasons Comey was fired. Neither reason appeared in Rosenstein's letter. Rosenstein is the acting Deputy Attorney General, not the acting FBI judge. And to my knowledge, he's the guy who wrote the 3-page list of excuses and reasons that Donald Trump ordered so he could present a reason for firing Comey. So it didn't look like it was related to the Russia investigation.
Right. And I'll let you continue, but there's been back and forth as to how that letter was written, but go ahead.
To continue the summary of related events, wait and see. The editors of National Review urge caution before jumping to any conclusions about Trump's motives and argue that one way or the other, Comey needed to go. That's the new administration line. But the National Review is right. It could be a whole lot of stuff, but as a lot of people are suspecting, Politico's Jack Schaefer throws some cold water on those who claim Comey's firing represents a point of no return for the president. Trump may eventually face the comeuppance his foes dream, but not over shoving Comey out the door. So that's a good perspective to approach this story, because there is no doubt that the timing of Comey's firing is just totally suspect. And then, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you were saying about the back and forth and the changing of the story?
Well, I heard on the radio this morning, Thursday as we pre-taped, that initially we were told that this letter from the deputy AG was basically his own effort, and that he had just come up with these reasons and forwarded them. And now we hear that he was told to write a letter, he wasn't given the contents to put in it, but he was, the Trump administration, that is, if not Trump himself, asked for this letter, and it was given to the president, and now I hear from him that he's sick to his stomach, that it had this effect. And he was about to resign himself, but didn't, and that says a lot about him. But, you know, the cloudiness of how this was done is another problem. It's not as clear-cut as a straight letter from an assistant AG. It's implied, this is what I want, and the White House got it.
So, Ray, did you see any of the Lester Holt interview with Donald Trump, which actually took place today as we taped? Well, I saw a headline that it was an afternoon, not a morning or evening thing, live for the newscast. So I flipped on my TV, and what happened was, it had happened earlier than I flipped on, but CNBC basically was recapping, because it turns out that Lester Holt, and this will be all over the news over the weekend, it'll be on the Sunday talk shows that will be preceding our Monday airing, but they claimed in the Wednesday briefing that, yes, Donald Trump took the urging and advice of the AG, as you said, and Attorney General, the Deputy and Attorney General Sessions, and said, yes, Comey must go. Well, in the Lester Holt interview with him, he says, oh, no, I made up my mind to fire Comey. But Lester Holt went, wait, back up again. You said, you'd made up your mind? You mean, oh, no. It didn't matter what recommendation they brought to me. I'd already made up my mind to fire. So the story that they had put out on Wednesday about Jeff Sessions had recommended, and the attorney Rothstein had recommended, and the president took those recommendations and decided he would go. The president just flat out said, I don't know what they're talking about. I made up my mind I was going to fire him. Didn't matter what they told me. So that was all over the Huckabee briefing on Thursday, just before we taped, and the reporters were grilling her up and down. But you told us it was his idea. She says, oh, no, blah, blah, blah. And she kept trying to backpedal and kept trying to backtrack. But the bottom line is, they just keep coming up with these crazy stories for their actions, and they're evidently not grounded in fact. They're grounded in how this guy feels and what he feels. And the Jake Tapper thing is what you basically said, Ray, that he was upset that Comey didn't back him up for claiming Obama had wiretapped him, or that he didn't personally vow I'm a loyal to you guy no matter what. And so that made up his mind. And the other thing was, of course, what we just read from the Columbia Journal Review, which was quoting the Washington Post and the New York Times and whomever, about the fact that Comey had requested more funds, more resources, more people to accelerate, not only to accelerate the Russia investigation, he had already accelerated the Russia investigation. So, I don't know. I'm sitting here trying not to say, yeah, it's the Russia probe, like these other outlets were saying, don't just jump to that conclusion.
No, I know. The problem is it's a perfect storm. I mean, it could be everything.
Look, I'm bending over backwards trying to say
Yes.
it's not the Russian story because you know me.
It may not be the Russian story. It could be as simple as him hating this guy for not backing him.
Right.
It could be that simple.
This guy's that picayune and that small-minded and that sensitive. That's correct. But, folks, in full disclosure, way back, Media Watch said, and I reiterate what we said, forget everything else that's coming down the pipe. The story is the Russia-Trump connection. The investigations that are dealing with what this president knew, what his people knew and or did with the attack, cyber attack by Russia against the United States elections. We've been saying that that's the number one story from day one, have we not?
Yeah, we brought it up multiple times.
Okay.
And we spoke a lot about misdirection because we keep running into other stories that cloud this story and knock it off the front pages for a little while. Then it comes back, and of course, the Trump administration, formerly the Trump campaign, would say, no, that's not an issue. That's not there. What's there is this. It's the Clinton emails, or it's something else. And we keep getting misdirected, and now we have fresh stuff.
Talk about the Clinton emails pertaining to the Comey firing, Raymond, because like Bob just said, oh no, it's not this, it's the Clinton emails. Well, actually, this misdirection played into the Comey firing, right?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, there's misdirection in every corner. I don't know what's real and what is misdirection. Well,
the first story that they put out for why they were firing Comey.
Oh, well, because of his handling of the emails.
Well, I mean, expand on that for us. Because that's part of Bob's.
That's like old news.
Yeah.
Well, that's what everybody thought when they said that's why they fired.
Right.
Go ahead,
I mean,
Bob.
but it's right. It's just the rehashing of what's been said before. That the Democrats said that he should have been fired over the way he handled the Clinton emails. So darn it, I fired him, and you ought to be satisfied, Democrats. And but of course that's not the issue.
No, it's not the issue. And when did they start protesting his actions on the emails?
Well,
I mean, they were all for this, originally.
Well, that's why that being the reason.
Right. It strips all of the gears of what he was saying before.
I know.
It takes the engine and it rebuilds it, and it reverses everything.
See, I mean, the story's long moved past the Clinton emails as the reason for the firing. I understand that. But I just need to backtrack to bring people up to the fact that these people are so discombobulated. So let's shoot ourselves in the foot is the big reason that they rolled out initially for why they fired James Comey was, ta-da, he really mishandled the Clinton emails. He violated Justice Department protocol in the way he handled it. And then they got to concoct 3 pages of stuff, all of which were quotes from Democrats and op-ed pieces of paper that weren't really typical legal documents that you actually put together to actually can somebody for not following protocol. But that was their first initial rollout for why James Comey had to go. And then when they got pressed, it was, well, the president had made up his mind, and yes, and no, it doesn't. It's not. What was the disconnect? Oh no, it wasn't that the AG and Jeff Sessions recommended that he be dismissed for all those bad things he did with Clinton.
The Attorney General never recommended that he be fired.
Yeah, he did.
No, he knew.
Yes, he did.
Well,
he did, according to the release, the story.
According
the assistant wrote the letter.
Yes, but the assistant sent it up to Jeff Sessions.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Jeff Sessions
recommended that he be fired.
Said, based on what my guy has said, we think that you ought to get rid of this guy. So this is Jeff Sessions, who supposedly, folks, was recusing himself from anything dealing with the Clinton emails and the Russia investigation. Well, who's running the FBI point on the Russian investigation? James Comey,
Comey. No, of course.
who released the stuff on the emails? James Comey. And what was the reason that Jeff Sessions and the assistant AG cited for why they needed to get rid of the Clinton email? So how could Jeff Sessions be recusing himself from two different things and then make a recommendation to fire this guy?
And leave his assistant holding the bag.
Oh, yeah, trying to throw this guy under the bus.
Yeah. According to this, the New York Magazine rather has an article, 23 reasons why the firing of Jeff Sessions,
James Comey?
Comey is suspicious.
Bogus?
Yeah.
Bogus?
I'm trying to look for the right word there.
He can't use the word that was used in the article.
Okay,
That's what he's trying to get around.
I understand.
But no, according to the New York piece, the deputy, again I'm quoting here, the Deputy Attorney General who wrote the memo explaining the White House's rationale for Comey's firing reportedly threatened to resign after realizing the responsibility for the decision was being pinned on him and not Trump.
Holding the bag.
Rosenstein said,
Yes.
I picked up another news source. You people think you're going to throw me under the bus with this, I'll quit. This was not my idea. And the fact that you rolled this out and tried to put it as my idea, I'm not happy with. Fix that or I'm going to quit. That's basically
That's essentially what I heard.
Yes, yes. Those are the reports. And that's just how 36 hours of chaos is a perfect headline. I couldn't have phrased it better. No. Columbia journalism, you've nailed it. And this is chaos in the total atmosphere, ethosphere, media sphere, not just in the White House.
I'm admiring the level of reporting that's coming out of this. I'm admiring.
They're finally getting in the gear.
Yeah, the way they basically chased Sean Spicer behind bushes so that he could collude with his people before he spoke to the press, and he cut off the cameras, and now all of a sudden, he's taken the time to take his naval reserve time, take a few days off, and leave Huckabee Sanders to do the pressers, so he can rest. Well, I mean, he has to do his naval reserve time, but boy, is this well timed.
Yeah.
But now she's trying to figure out how to handle it. She's getting her feet wet and burned. It's not good the way I've seen, and now Kellyanne Conway.
I was going to say Kellyanne
is
Conway's back.
So it's just it's a good time to be a Washington correspondent after years of.
It's a good time to be a Canadian.
Well, I don't need. I'm not being snide and I'm not being snarky. This is the Columbia Journalism Review, in which I read a little earlier. Sanders, the deputy press secretary, who may be auditioning for a promotion. So while Sean Spicer is ducking behind the bushes, she's saying, I'll step up to the plate. I'll try to do this for you. I don't know. I saw part of her dealing with the press corps last Thursday prior to our taping, because this airs on Monday. And she kept her, no, there's no confusion here. Every time they would say, but you told us yesterday. She said, well, I didn't have a chance to talk to the president yesterday, but now that I've had that chance, this is my new story. But she didn't say this is my new story. This is the updated, more accurate version.
At least she didn't say alternate reality, alternate facts.
No, she was smart enough not to go alternate. She went, I didn't have a chance to talk to him yet. She's got a great line. Spicer needs to take that line from her, because when he fumbles with all his all she says is, well, I didn't have a chance to talk to him yet on that, but when I do, I'll get back to you. I said,
I don't think anybody in the White House says a word before consulting.
I agree.
I really don't.
There's no meeting. There's no. You're right.
It's just like Mr. Trump. How do you respond to this? What do you want me to say? That sort of thing. I think they would be afraid to go out there on their own.
Right.
But impromptu.
Who hired her? Did Spicer hire her, or was she hired by the White House administration?
I have no idea. I'm
if
guessing.
Spicer hired her, she ain't going to get no promotion. He's going to protect his butt.
I'm guessing she got put in there just like the blonde lady.
She's a Trump cousin.
Well, she's
no,
the wife of a
She's
former-
Huckabee's. She's Huckabee's daughter.
Is she really
Yeah.
Huckabee's
She's
daughter?
Huckabee's
Okay.
daughter.
I was
So
wondering what the connection
that's
was.
some
I didn't
kind
know
of
that.
some
Okay.
kind of Republican, you know,
Yeah.
just like Kellyanne Conway, Republican fundraiser, pollster, whatever.
Yeah.
So you know, wherever your connections are. I mean, I'm not saying the Republicans only. The Democrats do that. You connected
Right.
to somebody,
No,
you get a job.
nepotism's all
Yeah,
over the
yeah.
place.
You come in there, you get a job.
Yeah, but, you
but
know,
I
I've
don't
never
think
seen it to this
Spicer.
extent.
I don't think Spicer
Oh,
hired
yeah.
her.
Yeah.
I think that whoever Trump's transition people who said, well, we need some insiders who are connected to the regular establishment people, blah, 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 which is why a Huckabee would be a perfect fit for that, just like Ranch Priebus is the chief of staff. You know, I heard one guy said all this chaos really is the fault of the chief of staff. It's his job to make sure all this stuff gets coordinated properly, and the fact that they got unexpected blowback about firing Jim Comey, the chief of staff should have predicted that for them. What's he doing? What kind of job is he doing if he can't say, if you fire this guy now who's running your investigation that's investigating you, you know what that's going to look like? You know the blowback you're going to get? Well, guess
Well,
what?
he would
Nobody
have-
told him that.
He would have to know in advance, wouldn't he? And not
Yeah,
have-
and you're saying Ranch was not part of the close-knit too. There were some 3 people, I'm told.
I'm saying that Trump is so unpredictable, maybe no one had a chance to find out what he was about to do.
Well, there's no doubt that Spicer didn't know.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that
Absolutely correct.
most of the people
Yeah.
did not know. But there were like 3 people. I've heard Jared Kushner.
I
I've,
don't
I
doubt
heard.
that at all.
I've heard. Who was the other name? I think maybe Steve Bannon. And
That would be no surprise.
And I don't know
Kushner
if I
Bannon
heard. I don't even
did-
know if I heard Priebus though. But I'm guessing because he's chief of staff,
I would think
he
that
probably
would
was
be
one of the
in on
ones.
that.
And we have about 90 seconds.
Is that it? Really?
A minute and a half.
Oh, okay. No, I would say that. But what I did hear was Bannon was the only one who said, "You do that, you're going to get serious blowback," and they didn't listen. So you know, there's a story that we couldn't talk about because we don't have enough time. But a guy got arrested in what town? In West Virginia. Dan Heyman, a reporter for one of the press news
Asking
things.
too many questions.
Yeah, he was asking a question of home
Yeah,
health and
I
health.
read that on my way
and,
here.
and they booked the guy, held him for 8 hours because he was just trying to get an answer. They said, oh, it's because his actions crossed over Secret Service line. He said, I was just trying to get my recorder out there to record an answer if I got
right.
one. They booked him, and that harks back to the
and-
woman who
and-
laughed, who chuckled during
Right.
sessions
No,
Exactly.
absolutely.
confirmation, and now she's getting a jail sentence.
And they also said that his repeated asking of the questions in a loud voice was disruptive.
Okay.
Which is silly.
So
And-
Putin state has arrived.
Yeah.
Hey, this has been Media Watch. I'm Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
And we'll catch you the next time. And if we're lucky, somebody will come take us to black, and we will call this a day.